Okay, hello. This is Seneku again for another short tips and tricks weapon thingy. I don't know what these are called. Um, so we're going to go through the weapons in the current Salmon Run rotation, plus two more specifically for PvP as mom requested. So today it is March 16th, 2022. The current rotation is Glooga dualies, Luna Blaster, Splattershot Pro, and Charger. And we're gonna skip the Splattershot Pro because it has to do with our. Well, I mean, we'll do Charger before Splattershot Pro because that has to do with our PvP talk. Alright, so first is Glooga dualies, as I nickname Grandpa dualies because they have the slowest fire rate. What makes these dualies unique compared to the other ones is that their normal firing is less damage than when you roll into firing, which is called turret mode. And there might be some range differences too. So essentially, if you don't roll with them, it's a 3-hit kill. But if you do roll before shooting and get into this turret mode, where you're, you know you're in turret mode because you can see you have two circle crosshair things when you're not, and then when you are, it just makes one circle. That's how you know you're in the turret mode. So it's 3 shots out of turret mode and 2 shots in turret mode, at least for PvP. But that carries over to Salmon, meaning you're going to do more damage when you're in the rolled turret mode. So that's what you want to keep in mind. Usually you want to be in turret mode when you're trying to shoot bosses like the Drizzler or the Steelhead. So the trick, this weapon is a lot about positioning. So let's say the Steelhead is right here, and this is my ideal range to shoot it. If I want to go into turret mode, it's gonna take a roll, and that's gonna move me out of position. So I want to be out of my ideal position and then go into the position I want to be able to do the turret mode damage that I want to do. I want to check. So this is about the maximum range for the normal one. Let me see. Yeah, turret mode also gives you a little bit more range. This is doing 3 hits because we're technically out of range, but we're hitting like fall off hits. But yeah, doing this will get you more range. Compared to the other dualies, all their damage is the same whether you're rolling or not, so it's not necessarily important. But with Gloogas, it's definitely important that you want to be doing your damage while you're rolling, or not rolling, while you're in this turret mode. But with that in mind, keep in mind that you're going to be just a sitting target. So if you're doing this and missiles are coming after you, they're going to definitely hit you. So being aware of your surroundings is definitely important. I think this is the first dualies weapon that we've talked about in these tips and tricks. And another thing I want to point out that's just for dualies in general is that dualies can get away with a lot of stuff because of these rolls. Maybe not necessarily the Gloogas as much as other dualies, but you can move around very swiftly even if you don't have any ink under you, which is really nice. So you can, if you'd like to, take more risks with like grabbing eggs or fighting a boss for maybe too long, stuff like that, because you have the rolls to sort of get away. Rolls do cost ink, so keep that in mind. For these, they don't cost very much. And after your second roll, or even after your first roll, it takes a while to get out of it and start moving like normal again. So that is the Glooga dualies. Next we have a Luna Blaster. What is the special Luna Blaster? One. So Luna Blaster is the shortest range blaster, I think. I think Clash Blaster might be a little longer range, but it's also one of the stronger blasters. Since it's so short range, it has a quick fire rate, and because it's a blaster, it has a wide hit range or hitbox. So this weapon is really good for clearing out the normal salmon, like the chum and the small fry. Because when there's a bunch of them, you don't have to hit them like one by one. You can shoot at an area and hit a bunch of them, get a bunch of damage in. It will be reduced damage, but at least you're damaging a bunch of the group. This is a pretty aggressive weapon where you have to be close range and shooting things. One thing about blasters is when you jump and shoot, there is a little bit of variance at which direction your shot goes. There's not very much on Luna Blaster, but there's a lot more if you have like the normal blaster or range blaster or rapid blaster. So keep that in mind when you're if you want to jump and shoot to like kind of reach something. Sometimes the shots go a little to the left or a little to the right. I think this weapon's pretty ink efficient. It's strong if you're fighting close range stuff. I don't think there are any bosses it has issues with, so it's just all around a strong weapon. Very good. Alright, so next we have the Splat Charger. We'll grab the pencil one just because it's nearby. And this is unscoped. So this is pretty much similar to the E-liter, except of course shorter range. Not as much range as the E-liter. Let's see. That's about that far. This probably won't mean much, but it's something you get used to when you play the weapons more. About that much of a difference in this is probably, I'd argue, one of the best chargers in Salmon Run. Maybe Squiffer would be, some people prefer Squiffer over this, but this and Squiffer are probably the best chargers. Just because their charge time isn't very long. You two-hit pretty much most, or a lot of enemies like the eel, the scrapper. It might be it for 2 hits. One hit steelheads, of course, with a full charge. For drizzlers, if you get your charge as soon as it shoots its torpedo, you can take out the drizzler in 3 charges before it hides back under its umbrella. That also makes it very useful. And the range is good. If you're fighting Cohawks, you can do a full charge shot and then 2 tap shots, and then that'll take out the Cohawk. But even if you don't take out the Cohawk, if there's like a bunch of normal salmon and you're just trying to support your team, you can fully charge and focus on the Cohawks. That'll do the most damage, and then your teammates can do the rest of the damage to finish them off. Aside from that, a general charger thing that is not a thing with either scope chargers or bamboo is that when your charge is full, you can swim for a little while and hold your charge. You know if your charge is still holding if there's like a blue circle when you're sitting in your ink. So this hold doesn't last very long, but as long as you come out before it happens, you'll hear that beep that sounds like your charge is full. So this can be useful if you want to prepare your charge, but the steelhead's like too far away. But you know it's about to do its thing. You can swim up really quickly and get into position. And it'll take practice getting used to like the range and aiming at steelheads, but eventually you'll get that. So this is very useful in comparison to scope chargers. So that is the Splat Charger. Excuse me. Now, we will move into a little mix of PvP talk and salmon talk. So this weapon is the Kpro, which you requested to see and hear me talk about. I played a little bit of Kpro when I did PvP when it was really strong, and that's because of main power up, which is the ability that increases your damage. I don't think I have any main power up on these clothes, but maybe the shirt. But this turns your 3-shot kill into a 2-shot kill because it increases the damage up to 99.9 or 99.8, and if they're standing in your ink, that's an additional 0.2 damage, which ends up killing them. So that's why it turns into a 2-shot with the right amount of main power up. So for builds, that's usually what's recommended, just a bunch of main power up and maybe a sub of quick super jump or bomb defense. And if you want to play without main power up, I'm sure there are builds on Sendo that don't have main power up. So the thing to keep in mind with using Kpro or any Splattershot Pro is that it uses a lot of ink. It's a heavy ink user. Maybe my clothes are ink efficient right now, not sure. But generally it uses up a ton of ink and your mobility isn't very great while you're shooting. So you want to keep that in mind when you're like facing opponents. But it has really good range. It's a mid-range, almost long-range weapon that can take care of most of the other shorter range weapons. The other thing about it is, while it doesn't seem so in the training room, it doesn't paint very well. So you see all these empty spots, and since we're talking about NZap later, you'll see how much better it paints. And also because its fire rate is really low. So you have to keep that in mind, that if you're engaging in an enemy or engaging enemies, you won't have that much paint output. So you want to make sure you're in a well painted area to have a good advantage of fighting against enemies. The sub weapon is the Splat Bomb, and the Splat Bomb takes up a ton of your ink tank. So you have to be mindful if you want to use a Splat Bomb but also shoot, because you won't have that much ink left after you use the bomb. So yeah, be mindful about how much you use your sub weapon. I'm not sure how much of a bomb thrower you are, but yeah, just keep that in mind when you're using it. And last, the special is Booyah. I could talk kind of a lot about Booyah Bomb in maybe in another video, but this is a good way to sort of protect yourself. Not really like a last minute panic Booyah, but if you feel a situation might be dangerous, you can use your Booyah because it has a ton of armor. And if your friends help you Booyah, you can throw it out at the enemy, you can throw it down at yourself to try to protect yourself. And it's both a good defensive and offensive choice for this weapon. So this weapon is very versatile in terms of being like a slayer weapon, so focused on getting splats and stuff like that, not really painting very much. So you can, I want to say you can play pretty aggressive with it, but you want to make sure that you have enough paint around your feet and you are watching your ink management. And that is the pro. The ink management is the same deal for Salmon Run. That's the parallel to it. It's a fairly decent weapon, it's just the fire rate's kind of low. And yeah, the ink management makes it a tougher weapon compared to similar weapons for Salmon Run. Okay, and lastly, the orange NZap. So the NZaps in general are very mobile weapons, very strong, just all-around weapons. And as you can see, this paints up really well, which is why it's the favored weapon for armor and competitive play, because it gets armor the most reliably. Well, I guess tied up with Junior. So I think, as I mentioned before when we were playing League together, it definitely helps the team out a lot if you focus on painting the ground, painting up areas like if the zone needs to be painted or just our base needs some paint control. It helps out a lot because it can output a lot of paint and not use up a ton of ink, so you can kind of paint forever. And the mobility also helps too. For this one specifically, the sub-weapon, the chicken, the auto bomb, is one of your best friends because it's useful in cases of chaos where the enemy has so many things to focus on. If you throw an auto bomb, most people get spotted to auto bombs because they don't even realize it was there. But it's also good for snooping out where the enemy is, because it'll walk straight up to them. So it's very useful to use your auto bomb. This weapon can almost use double auto bomb, so I would suggest maybe some sub saver on your abilities so you can throw 2 out at once. And missiles are super useful as of late in even competitive play, because not only are they quick to get, you have a target or a locator for where each enemy is, no matter where they are on the map, even if they're hiding behind walls. And it also, even if they can dodge your missiles, they will do some splash damage to the enemy. So if they're in a bad situation and you add missiles to it, then it causes a lot of trouble for them. So while this weapon is a 4-shot kill, which is not the best, but it's still reliable, the aim is pretty good. I think most of the focus, at least if I would play it, would be on the sub-weapon, the special, and trying to keep things painted up for your team. So it's definitely more of a support weapon than a slayer weapon like the Kpro. And yeah, I think that's it for these weapons. This video's going a little while, but I think I will still do the Salmon Run demonstration. Unfortunately, I don't feel confident in a ranked demonstration of the Kpro or the what is it called? The NZap. Because ranked is a little more chaotic and unpredictable than Salmon Run is, believe it or not. Just depending on what players you get and what players they have. But yeah, we'll try to demo some of the weapons within Salmon Run if we get a match. And hopefully this helps. I'm not good at editing videos, so I'll definitely put timestamps. And I'm just gonna do this all in one take. Well, hopefully if we get a match. There we go. And as I mentioned before, I'm gonna explain what I'm doing while I'm doing it to the best of my ability. And that's also a useful technique for anyone who's trying to improve, see what they're doing right, seeing what they're doing wrong, stuff like that. Alright, Luna Blaster. What I always do on this map is paint up this side, just in case we get rushed. It's not always the case. When it comes to low tide, I never really rush out, because since we're trying to lure the enemies closer, we don't want to be all far out and stall anything. This eel might be after me. I'm gonna back up. Yeah, it's after me. Try to keep it straight from my teammates. Start filling the water again. The stinger's gonna be after me too. So I'm using the Luna to clear out these enemies because I know there's not a ton of them. There's no other bosses that are causing trouble. We might be bottlenecking ourselves with how far out we're going, so I'm gonna try to leave this steelhead alone. There is a Moz after me, so that'll be good. We'll try to get this Drizzler. Before going back, I'm gonna get this Stinger so it doesn't bother me or anyone else. I don't have enough for that flyfish. Of course there's another Stinger. And knock this back. We have 10 seconds left, so really do whatever. I jump a lot when I play this blaster, even though it has some variance, just because it feels like I'm being more mobile than standing still. Okay, Glooga dualies. Another thing I do on this map specifically is on normal tide I always come out to this right side because the left side takes the longest for the enemies, or for the bosses that come out. So I check right side, then I go up towards the front, and then if there aren't any, then I know the bosses are coming from the left side. Oops, sorry teammate. Pull the egg from you. Roll into position. My teammate blocked my shot, so that's okay. Do it again. That's a little too far. Now back up. And I guess with Gloogas, it can definitely help you see where your aim is at, since you have to stand still and just turn your controller, given you're using motion controls. Throw this. We'll get both baskets, because I'll just escape out here. Eel's not after me. There might be another eel. Whoops, my roll messed up. Take care of that. Teammate down. There's 2 teammates down. One... I guess I consider a bad habit, I never talked to anyone about it, that I'm trying to get out of is backpedaling too much. Where I'm like watching something but going backwards. Part of the reason that's dangerous is you don't see any of the enemies that are behind you, and usually there's like a steelhead behind me. But also, more dangerously, if you have missiles on you and you're backpedaling, it's more likely that a missile will fall directly on top of you. I'm not sure why, but that's just how they're kind of calculated. We have the charger with its cannons, so... we'll see how they do getting out of that situation. But I'm not gonna fight the steelhead, I'm just gonna let them suffer to try to force a lure. Because it's so easy to get bottlenecked on this map if people keep going out to like grates and stuff. I do have a splash down. I might use it here just so I can get rid of that. I'm gonna get these steelheads now because they're... Oh, I don't want to die in a rain. Luckily I do have the charger, so this steelhead's easy to take out. Even that one, I started my charge late. And I'm just gonna take a vacation, go somewhere far away. We already got quota. And yeah, just go see the boat. So that was a short demonstration. Hopefully it was helpful. I didn't talk too much during the cannon wave because I guess I sort of autopilot. But as always, if you have any questions or want to see something specific, just let me know. And thank you for watching. Bye bye.